So our theme for the month is the relaxed life. And I want you to know that as your senior minister, I'm embodying that just fully and completely. Thank you, my dear. Little fan action, please. Thank you, yes. Yes, so good. Life is so good, is it not? Thank you. Thank you so much. That is really strong. 10:30 service is going to be interesting, I can tell you right now. Whew. Well, I suppose that I should probably get to work a little bit here, so let me suit up. Good morning. All right, now I'm formal. I'm formally relaxed. Can I do a talk with an umbrella drink? So it's funny because have you ever been in a situation where you absolutely know what's going on until a moment when you find out you don't? Yeah, I just had that moment like 2 minutes ago when Reverend Sue said, today I'm talking on silence. See, all of our talks this year come out of the Joyous Living Journal. And at the beginning of each month, there's a listing of topics that if you were doing talks, you could talk about. And I happened to look at that topic. But Reverend Sue found already a couple times during the year, and I presume you're the one who selected the topics, decided not to do the one that was in the book and picked something from a little different day on here. And that's what happened today. And I didn't catch it. So in the silence, I was told to talk about something else. And the funny thing was, I'm not even going to talk about the topic that's in the book. Because the topic that's in the book today is, I'm supposed to talk about stopping the wild ride. You know some people who are on the wild ride, right? Everything is so dramatic. Everything is so big and so important. And you must join them in their drama. You know anybody like that? Okay. The thing that I've noticed is that by and large, there's not a whole lot of that going on in this church. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, we have our little dramas, but we don't have the big dramas. We had our board retreat yesterday, and Reverend Jeff Anderson was from Santa Rosa had come over and was asking me, earlier, preparing for it, kind of, well, what are the problems with your church? Are you in financial trouble? Or is your attendance down? Is your board in conflict with each other? What's the problems? I'm saying, no, none of those. We're fine. Board gets along fine. Financially, we're good. Our attendance is growing and like that. And finally, he said, "Oh my God," he says, "I'm always used to dealing with boards in crisis. I get to work with a church where everything's well, and then go from above that. How much better can we be?" I went, yeah, that's who we are. So I don't feel a call to do the wild ride. There's a great example in the Joyous Living Journal that's an example of the wild ride, that a guy is riding through town on a horse just as fast as he can. And a couple of people yell out to him, "Where are you going?" And he says, "I don't know, ask the horse." And in drama, that's what it's like. The horse is our conditions. The conditions out there are our emotional attachment to the conditions out there. And we let them drive instead of us from consciousness driving. So that's my talk about the wild ride. What I really want to talk about today is how good can it be? How much better can it be? And we're going to continue a little bit of the material that we worked with last week from the book, The Big Leap, which is in the bookstore, I found. So if you want to buy a couple of copies of that, well, probably just need one for yourself. You can. Last week we looked at we were doing the topic Go For It, and we looked at what was holding us back from going for it. And as we started to clear that out, did you notice the energy just started to move? And we were much higher when we left. We were much more, because we naturally tend to go for it. The energy within us, the spirit within us wants to go for it. That's its nature. And all we got to do is get our bloated nothingness out of the way, and it goes for it. We can just say yes. So today I want to take that a little bit farther. That there's a model that is used in this called the four different zones, 4 zones of operation in which we operate. And so I wanted to talk about those 4 zones and where we want to operate. And the first one is known as the zone of incompetence. This is the zone where we're not good at what we do. We're doing stuff we're not good at. We all have those zones, right? Stuff we're not good at. He gives a great example in the book of a very high-paid executive who bills out at $1,000 an hour. Buys a new $1,000 printer for his home and spends all day trying to install the printer to his computer. And as Gay, the author, says, he says, I know this guy. He says he's about as good with mechanical stuff and stuff like that as I am, which is not at all. And so he spends 13 hours, 4 of it on the line with tech support, to HP, frustrated, and he calls Gay at this point in time, and Gay says, so let me get this straight. You just spent $13,000 of your time to install a $1,000 computer, and you didn't get it installed. He says, I finally called a college kid who's the son of a friend of mine down the street who came over and had it up and running in an hour. He says, I tried to pay him and he wouldn't accept any money. I finally gave him $100. And oh, by the way, in the meantime, my wife and I got in a big fight because I wasn't spending time with her and the family on my day off. That's our zone of incompetence. Okay? That's where we're doing the stuff that we shouldn't be doing, we're lousy at. And we all have that stuff. And his recommendation is delegate it, avoid it, get somebody else to do it. Okay? So stay out of the zone of incompetence. There's a phrase that he said his father used is, don't get stuck on stupid. Which is where you're trying over and over and over to keep on doing what you don't do well. Second zone is our zone of competence. It's what we do well. But it's what everybody else can do, or lots of other people can do well also. We're good at it. We're just decent at it. And so are a lot of other people. I'll give you the personal example for myself. Some of you know that I recently moved into a house, and some of you know that house doesn't have a dishwasher. Housework is doesn't make my heart sing. Should we say that? And so I've spent the last several weeks with a broken toe, standing in a boot, trying to do dishes, or, should I really tell the truth? On 3 occasions, I have misused church resources. I have packed my large amount of dishes up and brought them over to the church's dishwasher and run them through. Forgive me, Father, I have sinned. Just so you know, I brought my own dishwashing detergent. Right? Wasn't using that part of the church resources. Last week, I finally said, I've had enough of this. I'm buying a dishwasher. I will figure out where to put it in there. I know you can get rolling dishwashers. The kitchen isn't really big enough to have a place for it. But it's like, if I have to sit the thing in my bedroom, I will do that. I am not washing dishes by hand anymore. I think the kicker was when my kids were visiting and they left and there was this big old pile of dishes. I said, you know what? That's enough. I've had enough of this. And so I went online and I found out that there are countertop dishwashers that are apparently pretty darn good. It's arriving tomorrow. So that's my zone of competence. It's like, can I wash dishes? Sure, I can wash dishes. But the machine can do it a whole lot better, and it frees me up to do things that are more juicy and more what I love. So where are you doing your zone of competence that you could free up the time? I used to change the oil in my car all the time. I'm a guy, I can change my oil. My first year in college was automotive technology. It's like, back in the day, I could rebuild an engine completely. Not the new computerized engines, but this is before all that stuff came on. So I used to change the oil in my car, and finally it's like, okay, so I'm spending a couple hours, I'm, dinking around with everything, getting set up, wrapping my knuckles as I get the little bolt done. Usually when I get the bolt done, the first, glob of oil starts running down my hand and down my sleeve and down my elbow or in my face. And then what do I do with the oil once I've got it and all that stuff? And I finally went, you know what, it's cheaper to spend 25 or 30 bucks to go have somebody else change the oil. Okay, that's, am I competent at it? Can I change oil? Yeah. But it frees me up to do a whole lot of other things. So that's our zone of competence, where we get stuck in it sometimes, and we ask the question, what else could I be doing if I would free myself up from that? Number 3 is a very tricky zone. It's called our zone of excellence. It is what you're really good at. It's what you do extremely well. Oftentimes, it's what you're making your living at. The thing is, it's not what gives you juice. It's not where your soul is. It doesn't give you that deep soul satisfying joy. You're just really good at it. And it's addictive, and it's comfortable, and everybody around you wants you to stay there doing it because, you're the breadwinner, or this is how you source yourself in whatever way your resources are. You're really good at it. Don't change. And eventually it starts to suck the life out of you. It's a seductive trap that leaves that deep sacred part of you that wants to express withering and dying on the vine. Some of you probably know what I'm talking about, right? I had a friend who was in Seattle who wanted to be, and became a minister, really wanted to do it full time, but she was working for Boeing. She had a great job with Boeing, except it kind of kept bouncing up and down, but she had great benefits, and she was nearing retirement, and she wanted those benefits. And so she never took the time to go fully into her ministry. Spent the whole time, with Boeing, finally retired at the age of 65 with her benefits, and died at 66. And she was a brilliant, wonderful minister, and I wish she would have gone, and we had the conversation a few times because she was a good friend of mine. But I wish she would have stepped away from that 5 years earlier when she was really getting the call to step into it. So she was excellent at what she did, but it wasn't her soul's delight. So that's the zone of excellence, and like I said, it's the most seductive one, and to remain in that soul, in that zone, keeps us from taking the leap into what gives us true joy, which is number 4, our zone of genius. Our zone of real genius. Not what you're excellent at, but it's what you came here uniquely to give as your gift in this world. Take a breath. Because some of us, by the age of 40, have been talked out of the idea or silenced the voice that says you're unique and have a unique gift to give. But each of us does. Each of you do. That's the person sitting in your chair does. You have a unique gift to give. It's a unique gift that only you can give. I want to read Gay Hendricks' definition of this zone. Liberating and expressing your natural genius is your ultimate path to success and life satisfaction. Your zone of genius is the set of activities you are uniquely suited to do. They draw upon your special gifts and strengths. Your zone of genius beckons you with increasingly strong calls as you go through your life. By age 40, many of us have tuned out the call of genius and are getting loud, repeated alarms hidden in the form of depression, illness, injuries, and relationship conflict. These alarms are reminding us to spend more time feeding our natural genius and let it do its magic in the world. So you begin to ask yourself, what is my zone of genius? And he has some questions to help you pull that out. And some of you who have been through Prosperity Plus will also recognize a couple of these questions. Because the very first one is, what do I most love to do? And I invite you to contemplate this. Start to contemplate these 4 questions. What do I most love to do? What is it that when I'm doing it, time passes and I'm not even aware of it? I can do it for a long, long time and not get bored and not get tired. What is it that I love to do? Take a breath and just notice that. And this is not the point where you're sitting there going, yeah, but how can I make a career out of that? That's what the mind will come in and go, yeah, I can't support myself doing that. That's not the question. That's not the process at this time. The question is just an exploration. It's like a childlike wondering. I'm just wondering about this. What do I love to do? I'm just going to start to pay attention. What do I love to do? I'm just going to notice. I don't have to figure out how to make a six-figure income out of it. Just notice, what do I love to do? See, I used to love to read spiritual books and meditate. Actually, I still do. The difference is, now it's my job. And I love it. It's my zone of genius. But if you would have told me 25 years ago that I could get paid decently for reading spiritual books and meditating and praying and growing and doing spiritual growth work and supporting others in doing that, I would have laughed and said, no, that's not possible. Let me go back to my job here with corporate America, which I'm good at. What do I love to do? Second, what work do I do that doesn't seem like work? What work do I do that I can do it all day long without feeling tired or bored? What is it that you just could, it's like, I used to have a couple of things that I did that I say, I do that whether they paid me or not. I do ministry whether they paid me or not. Don't stop paying me, please. I like being paid for it. But I would do something like this whether I get paid or not. When I used to be an events coordinator, I used to love that. And for a while it was my zone of genius. My zone grew. We'll talk about that later. But I would have done it whether they paid me or not, and sometimes I did do it for free. And sometimes I got paid well for it. But what's the kind of work that you could do that doesn't seem like work? That you can just keep on doing it and having fun and enjoying it. Number 3, in the work, and for those of you who are retired, this is whatever work you're doing, whatever you're doing in the world now. So this isn't necessarily you have a nice job that you go to 9 to 5 or whatever, but just notice what is it that you do. So number 3 is, in my work, what produces the highest ratio of abundance and satisfaction to the amount of time spent? I'm going to say that again. What produces the highest ratio of abundance and satisfaction to the amount of time spent? A lot of us do what's called majoring in minors. I want to be a writer, so I get busy doing housework first. And then by the time the end of the day comes around, I'm really tired, and I might sit down at my computer and try to write for a few minutes. No, if I want to be a writer, what's the thing that gives me the highest satisfaction? Is writing, so I sit down and I do that, and I'll do the housework afterwards. So what is it that gives me the most satisfaction for the amount of time that I spend doing it? And usually it's that number 1. What is it that I love the most? So start to just notice that. What is it that gives you that satisfaction? And sometimes you can just do it for an hour. Back when I was a practitioner, if I did one session a day, one practitioner session a day with somebody, it was such a rich and beautiful process that it filled me for the whole day. Not only was the client blessed by it, but I was blessed by it. And if I had to go back and do my other work, that was fine. When I was young, photography was my joy. I was after I stopped being an automotive technology major, I got into photography, and I made that it was my joy for a good solid 10 years, in my 20s and early 30s. And I used to get up in the morning when I was living in Portland, Oregon, 3 o'clock in the morning, drive out to Mount Hood, catch the sunrise, over one of the lakes over there, and get photographs or do stuff. I like to work at edge of light times was when I was doing that stuff, and do photography for the day. And I'd be sitting there because I had a corporate job working for Aetna Life and Casualty, and so I'd be sitting there in my suit. Wouldn't have the tie on yet, but I'd be sitting there in my suit doing my photography throw everything in the car, drive in, race back into work, but I was fulfilled for the rest of the day because I'd had this hour of wonderful, soul-fulfilling stuff that I love to do. I didn't have to figure out how to make a living at that. Just doing it started to fill my day. That was spending an hour or two in my zone of genius. So what is it for you that even if you spend just a little bit of time doing it, adds a glow to your day? And just notice that. And then finally, question number 4. What is my unique ability? And sometimes this is a difficult one because oftentimes my unique ability is so easy for me. It's so normal. But doesn't everybody do that? That we don't pay attention to it. It's what we just kind of naturally do. It is, because we naturally do it, our unique ability. So what is that unique ability? We start to pay attention to it. There's a special gift that each of us is gifted with. What I want to say about that, it doesn't mean you're the only one on the planet with that skill. But you bring a unique way of expressing it. See, I'm not the only minister on the planet, have you noticed? Okay? I'm not even the only minister in this church. But I bring a unique way of being a minister that's different from the way that Reverend Sue brings her unique way of being a minister, that's different than Reverend Mary brings a unique way of being a minister, that is different than Reverend Kay or Reverend Pam brings their unique gifts as ministry. So what is it that is my unique gift and my unique skill set that I love to do? A way that he said, that he was explaining it to his one of his grandkids, and they were playing, he says, if you were a superhero, what would be your superpower? Take a breath. If you were a superhero, you are, by the way. What would be your gift? What would be your superpower? What is it that you just do that you're really good at? Have you noticed in the comic books that each superhero has a unique, separate gift? What's yours? And so I invite you to take those 4 questions and sit with them this week and just contemplate them. Just wonder about them. Just get curious about them. It doesn't mean you have to come up with the answer. Okay? Are we clear? Yeah. Okay, there is no the answer. Because what we're going to talk about next is that our zone of genius is a spiral. It unfolds more and more. Did you notice that as I was talking about my life, that my zone of genius shifted over my life? It's always involved spirituality, but it's been photography, it's been event coordination, it's been ministry. It may be something else down the road that I can't even see yet. But it spirals, and how we express it reveals more and more of itself as we spiral up. As we get higher, we can see more and do more. So wherever you're at is fine. You just start expressing your zone of genius a little bit each time, as much as you can each time. You let it spiral. As he says, get out of the box and get onto the spiral. Isn't that great? Some of us tend to box ourselves up. Get out of the box. Get onto the spiral. The spiral is our natural way of taking us up. And so he has a mantra that he invites you to use during this process. And the mantra is this, and I invite you to write this down. And we're going to say it together in a minute. Just listen to it first. I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. Breathe that in. And let's say it together. I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. Is that a win-win? Does that feel good? You know, for a long time I had this posted on my meditation space in my last home. I contemplated it every day. I invite you to take that and write that down and put it, somewhere every day. If I had thought about it, we would have had cards for you to have on the way out. Maybe next week we will have them, so made up. But I didn't have time last night to get the cards made up. But I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. I'm going to go back to our reading that we had at the start from Ernest Holmes. The spiral of life. Here we are. The spiral of life is upward. Evolution carries us forward, not backward. Now, do you notice it didn't say we got to shove evolution forward to get us forward? We got to make it happen. Okay, good. It's really sad when you can't do a proper chest thump on yourself. It's really sad. But I'm evolving. Eternal and progressive expansion is its law, and there are no breaks in its continuity. That means it's always expanding. It doesn't expand and then quit for a while. All we got to do is ride that spiral. It seems to me that our evolution is the result of an unfolding consciousness of that which already is and needs but to be realized to become a fact of life. So it's a consciousness of what already is in existence. See, our zone of genius already exists. Each of your zone of genius is already there. All we're doing is becoming conscious of it. More and more conscious of it. We're waking up. We're waking up. Are you willing to wake up? Yes. Every person, again, that's the one sitting in your seat, wearing your shoes, okay? Every person is an incarnation of eternity, a manifestation in the finite of that infinite which Emerson tells us lies stretched in smiling repose. Remember last week we talked about that we are God, that God is our playground, that God is who we are. I forget the exact phrasing that we had. It was a fabulous phrasing. But God is our capacity. That's what it was. God is our capacity. That's who we are. With all of those facts that confront us, we should learn to trust life. There is no power in the universe which wishes anyone ill. Life is good and God is good. Why not accept this and begin to live? So I invite you this week to start to just be willing to know what your zone of genius is and to live a little bit more in it. Some of you already know it. Some of you are already living it. Would you be willing to let that expand and spiral out even more? Some of you are sitting there going, I haven't got a clue. Would you be willing to let a little bit of a clue shine in your life? Become just a little bit conscious of what it might be. Just to sit with the question, what do I love? Just to notice, what is it that I get lost in? What is it that I can keep on doing? And so I invite us this week to do that. And finally, to play with that mantra that I expand. That's all we're doing. We're expanding. That's the evolution. We're expanding in our good. He calls it abundance, success, and love. We're expanding in our good. We're expanding in our joy. We're expanding in our bliss. We don't have to be sitting over here trying to be not sick or get off the wild ride. Most of us aren't doing that game anymore. A thought I had about that, by the way, during meditation this morning. We do get people who like to guilt trip us to suck us into their wild ride. Have you ever noticed that? You should think that this is really important because I think it's really important. It's huge. That's like Jesus getting involved with the people who were sick, going, oh my God, how sick you are. Look at that. Look at your foot. Look at your eyes that can't see. Look at that. Oh my God. Would that heal? No. So you having the consciousness that stands and says, I know the highest and greatest truth. I know that life is good, and I know that God is good. And I know that this evolution is ever expanding for greater and greater expression of good is the best thing you can do for a person in drama. They won't like it because they want to suck you in. But you can let go of feeling any guilt as you stand there and know the truth for them and know that you're doing the highest, most powerful thing you can do, which is to stay out of the drama and into spirit. So we expand in abundance, success, and love every day as we inspire those around us to do the same. That's all we have to do. And all we have to do to inspire those around us to do the same is to be doing it ourselves. To be doing it ourselves. The best way we can live life is to model it. You know, in the board retreat yesterday, we were talking about how do we spread our teaching. It's become the teaching. Practice the teaching. We don't have to get in ties and ride bicycles around and knock on everybody's door. Say, do you want to join Center for Spiritual Living? Do you want to be a religious scientist? Would you like the Science of Mind textbook? We don't have to do that. We have to be so radiant that people come up to us and say, man, what's going on with you? I love your energy. And some of you have had that experience, haven't you? But as you're living this practice, as you're living this teaching, you're doing it. So you inspire others to be more. That's our work this week. Contemplate those 4 questions, take them in, sit with them, wrestle with them. Like Jacob with the angel, wrestle with them until those questions bless you. What do I love? What can I do forever? What kind of work do I do that I can just keep on doing forever? I don't get tired of it. What is it that, for the amount of time that I spend, gives me the greatest abundance of joy, money, love, satisfaction? And what was that 4th one? What is my unique ability? What is it that is my unique ability that I'm here to do? And oftentimes, he uses the metaphor of Russian dolls. Oftentimes our unique ability is hidden inside of our other abilities. We think we're good at this, but if we go down and drill down deeper and deeper, we get down to what's my real core superpower. And sometimes it sounds so simple and so basic. I really know how people feel, and I can really be connected with them. I can really feel the energy in a room, and I know how to work with the energy to support people and to support meetings and to do whatever. This is what I do. What is it that you do? Sometimes it seems so simple, but it's what you uniquely bring. So are you willing to play with those questions this week? Yes. You're willing to expand here? Yes. Oh, thank you. For a minute I thought it was just a couple people. Go deep with those questions this week. Let's pray. I know that there is one infinite presence, one pure love, one pure spirit, ever evolving its expression. It is already whole, perfect, and complete, and yet it is evolving and expanding its expression of what that wholeness, what that perfection, what that completeness, what that love, what that joy looks like. It is showing up in ever more wonderful ways, ever more inventive and creative ways. And I know that because it is all there is, that we are one of it. We are points of light of where that evolution is happening on this planet, in this life. So we are the evolution. We are the expansion of that joy, of that love, of the abundance of good, of the wisdom, of the creativity, of the wholeness of spirit. We are that already. And so I speak my word that this week, this day, this moment, we become ever more aware of that. We become ever more aware of who we truly are, of how magnificent and how full and how brilliant we are. Because we are brilliant, shining lights. Lights of joy, lights of caring and love and compassion, lights of courage, lights of power, lights of wisdom. That is who we are, and more. Our capacity is God. And so we say yes to that. We say yes and allow it to move through us. We get our bloated nothingness. We get our fear of our light out of the way. And we let ourselves shine, knowing that our shining allows others, it inspires others to shine. We don't outshine anyone because the person next to us is also God. And all we are doing is helping them to remember that too. And so we expand our light. We let that light expand others' lights. And on and on and on. Until this whole world is lit up with that light of the divine. And that is the truth of who we are. We say yes to that. We say yes deeply, powerfully to that. And so in gratitude for all the good that comes out of this, in gratitude for each courageous being who says yes to that good, I simply am so grateful. For the infinite presence that moves through it all, I'm so grateful. And so we allow this process to unfold in its way, knowing that there is that within us which knows how. We can call it the law, we can call it spirit, whatever we want to call it. There is that knowingness within it. We don't have to figure it out. We simply turn it over to the infinite and let it be. Let it have its way with us. Let it express through us. All we have to do is make the way clear. Open the door and say yes with our willingness. And we do that. We make it so. And together we say, and so it is. Bless you.